My lord, it's been just over a week since the election wrapped up, and we aren't even into the first 4 years. We're a couple months removed from inauguration, and right now, the trash is doing an excellent job of taking itself out. Over the weekend, I'm going to have a video about how the mass media is coping with stuff. Spoiler alert, not very well, but when it comes to social media, at least the opinions that you're more than likely to see, well, that cast of characters, they're seeing themselves out. It's interesting, right? Because you see Stephen King here announcing for, what was this, the fifth or sixth time whenever a new platform opens up or whenever there's a big mass exodus of advertisers, there's a bunch of these left-wing weirdos that come out of the woodworks and say, oh, I'm leaving this dying platform. You can follow me on whatever we're doing now. He's choosing Threads, Don Lemon, Joy Reid, CCDH, not entirely sure what that one is, The Guardian, and there's a bunch of other freaks that are out there. A lot of them are either going to Threads, which if you remember when that one was really popping off, I remember a certain Ron Perlman who was constantly tweeting at Donald Trump about how he was taking dumps in his hand and doing weird things. I don't remember specifically, mostly because the less I think about Ron Perlman, the better it is for my overall psyche, and normally you just want to keep monsters like that at an arm's length away, and especially, knowing what he does with his hands. But they always come crawling back. Like, it's just this big publicity stunt, and they just, well, realistically, they can't help themselves. So yes, it's glorious to see things like this. And it's even more glorious, especially when it comes to those hug boxes, also a dying on the vine. Even if they're not leaving, certain aspects of certain left-wing weirdos, they seem to be flying the coop. I'm not entirely sure what's going on here with AOC. What, is she knocked up and going trad by getting rid of her pronouns in her bio? Well, that's interesting. The internet doesn't forget. It's a very, very odd change of pace as we see here with the side-by-side, but maybe she's setting up for bigger and better things for what we've been talking about for a while. Like back in the aftermath of 2020 when a lot of party reflection was going on, trying to figure out who the Democrats would end up setting up in the aftermath of Biden, because Kamala Harris is like, you'd have to be absolutely ridiculous to run her. And then, spoiler alert, well, we all know what just happened, right? So what is their bench going to look like? And yeah, for 2024, if anything was to happen, if they were to have the Democrats, this is to have an open and honest primary, well, it would look like, Gavin Newsom, Gretchen Whitmer, Pete Buttigieg, and then after that, like, who else? Who else would fill up the dais? I threw out the idea, mostly because she would finally fit the age restriction, because she's comported herself incredibly nicely, not really hanging out with what remains of the squad. No Jamal Bowman, no Cori Bush, and we don't even know what's left over there other than, Ilhan Omar? Haven't really heard much from Ayanna Pressley in a minute. Perhaps she's getting mad at the whole 4B movement for them shaving their heads and stealing her groove. But they're kind of setting themselves up, talking about, Omar and AOC, setting themselves up to take that mantle from Nancy Pelosi and Maxine Waters of being the establishment voices in the party for decades to come. Because, well, okay, I just seen something where there was some paperwork being filed for Nancy Pelosi at 86 years old, running for re-election, at least filing the paperwork to run for re-election in 2026. It's like, really? Are we kidding here? There was also another picture of circulating earlier today that I seen of Nancy Pelosi being in government for so long. She was pictured at JFK's inauguration. Brother, get out of here. Leave. Beat it. Dianne Feinstein was finally wheeled out of the Senate, and that bitch was mayor of San Francisco when the Zodiac Killer was running around there. Term limits when exactly? But bro, please run in 2028. We're going to need something to replace the circus that was Trump moving into the future. But speaking of the Orange Man himself, he found his way to the White House, for the customary meeting, and as we know, Melania didn't really want to treaty with Joe Biden, so she decided to sit this one out. And Biden, well, we don't need to play the clip or anything like that. You can just simply deduce what you can from the body language and from the posture that's on display there. Biden looks awfully happy to be meeting with somebody who he constantly derided as an insurrectionist, a threat to democracy. He was smiling, jovial, and you've seen from the speeches lately, he's been far more eloquent than he has been in, well, decades, mostly because I think he understands that the pressure is off. This has been, well, it's been a lame duck presidency, but now he's definitely in the lame duck period. He can kick back, relax, and enjoy the next couple of months knowing that nobody really expects anything from him, and the Orange Man is officially back, and he can go ahead and take all of the heat moving forward so they can ultimately enact their plan of setting up the biggest bonfire possible. So on January 19th, they can flick that match and set off a fire greater than America has ever seen, because they're going to still try to burn this down, okay? It's all nice right now. That's all nice, but we see some swamp creatures on both sides of the aisle, mind you, setting up for a very, very contentious first few months, first couple of years in office for Trump, but I'm still incredibly optimistic because there's only so much damage, right, that the Democrats can do on their way out the door, even with Antony Blinken, another person that's also being tapped for a 2028 run, by the way. One of the very few holdovers from this current administration that might have a future in politics, but yeah, he's out there, and this has been verified a few times over. President Biden has committed to making sure that every dollar we have at our disposal will be pushed out the door to Ukraine between now and January 20th. So they're going to go ahead and enable and empower whatever fighting force is left in Ukraine, just sending them into the meat grinder before things ostensibly wind down. You military industrial complex worshipping sycophants. You guys are just evil. Absolutely evil. Like, what do you hope to get out of this? Honestly, embolden Ukraine for what? They've been losing this war for, well, in February, 3 years. Hopefully it'll be wrapped up by then. So yeah, there's not any more bloodshed. Zelensky, you lost the Donbass. Give it up at this point in time. They were tired of being shelled. They voted for their independence, but you fought tooth and nail to keep it from where they want to go. It's like a single mom trying to keep their kids away from their baby daddy and constantly shit-talking them and gaslighting them. It's so pathetic, but that's another topic for another time. And just to show you that this shitty door swings both ways, okay, you got Tim Scott. Funny, because I just mentioned him in the last time that we did an update on all the appointees. It's like, okay, Rick Scott, not exactly an ideal candidate for who could be in charge of the Senate, the next majority leader, okay, but he's definitely the better of the two Scotts, and I didn't like the fact that Tim Scott was on the short list of VP candidates. Don't know if that was true or not, but at least that was reported by a couple of different outlets, but it shows you that this guy is 1000% a turncoat. Put him right up there, if he wasn't already there for you, along the lines of Mitch McConnell, Lindsey Graham, John Cornyn, and go ahead and put Tom Cotton on there as well, because I see his goofy howdy doody looking ass in the background. Lisa Blockheaded Murkowski, Suzanne Collins, all of them suck. Rhinos are worse than Democrats, because Democrats, they'll at least stab you in the front. Those rhinos, bro, there's no level. There is no depths of depravity that they won't stoop to. Like, check this out. Newly elected a National Republican, a Senator Committee Chair, Tim Scott, is hiring Stephen DeMara, a huge Trump hater and Mike Pence's 2024 campaign manager, to be the Senatorial Committee's executive director. DeMara will have massive control over which Senate candidates to fund. It's funny because not a lot of people were talking about the Senate races, the down ballot races that just happened here in 2024, and two races that were notably unfunded by Mitch McConnell's reign. Ted Cruz, which was one of those races that the Democrats were pinpointing and hoping that they could go ahead and prey on. Ultimately didn't end up working out for them all that well. And then also the Arizona Senate race with Kari Lake kind of lets you know, and depending on the candidate, like Ted Cruz, yeah, he doffs his hat at MAGA, and he loves to bloviate and take up the spotlight. What exactly does he do? Either than, take a seat away from a rhino. He's not great. He loves to grandstand. For Mitch McConnell, he's one of the most notable and name-recognizable candidates that you have in the Senate, and you don't want to fund him at all at a spot that you know that the Democrats are pinpointing. Like, what the hell are you doing? And then over there with Kari Lake, one of the most staunch Trump supporters that are out there. Oh, that makes a lot of sense. The establishment is going to be vicious moving forward, guys. Just because the Democrats got defeated doesn't mean that there isn't an enemy right out there on the horizon. But that, of course, is This is stuff that, we need to keep on the back burner. We need to be constantly cautious of, okay? Keep an ear to the ground on this stuff. But as of right now, bro, you got to take a look at the people that Trump is surrounding himself with going into these battles. And, bro, if you're bringing Rambo to the fight, I mean, brother, you got yourself a winner, okay? When it comes to the funny talking 80s action heroes, I mean, like, you can go ahead and take a look at the back there. And, I've got a soft spot in my heart for, Arnold, of course, but what he's been doing in recent years doesn't exactly imbue me with a lot of faith of his sound mind and body. But when it comes to Sly, I mean, like, if we're going to be honest, like, as much as I love Terminator, Commando, stuff like that, none of them are as good as the original Rocky. Like, let's keep it a buck. Like, that might be heresy to some, and I know that T2's good. That's not like nostalgia goggles. I seen it for the first time when I was about 25 or something like that. It has a great and all, but the original Rocky is, like, tremendous. Like, let's not forget that. And Rambo, I'm sorry, I guess it would have been First Blood, is, like, really good character study as well. And is there even a comparison between both of those guys' careers later in life? Like, okay, Sly already has the trump card with Tulsa King, the fact that it is right up there in the top for just about every streaming service that you can possibly get when it comes to ratings. Since Arnie's returned to the fold after his governorship fizzled out, does he have one successful run in him? I don't think so. But with that said, Arnold was also very vocal about his support of Kamala Harris coming out in the days ahead of the election. There was always speculation when it comes to Stallone as to, oh my God, oh, he was spotted at Mar-A-Lago. Oh, that means he's an all-around Trump supporter. And it's like, he never really made his politics known. He mostly just stayed out of it, and I appreciate him for that. Even though it's like, whenever somebody doesn't disclose their politics, especially in today's day and age, you kind of know which way they lean. But Stallone, well, now he's just gone full mask off because he's out here talking at this big event that was happening Thursday evening where a lot of the nominees were going to talk about, and Elon and Trump himself were down there to hear this very grandiose speech delivered by Sly himself. Sylvester Stallone introduces Donald Trump at Mar-a-Lago, says Trump is like the second George Washington. We're in the presence of a really mythical character. I love mythology. This individual does not exist on this planet. Nobody in the world could have pulled off what he pulled off when George Washington defended his country. He had no idea that he was going to change the world, because without him, you could imagine what the world would look like. Guess what? We got a second George Washington, and exactly. And then he capped it off. I heard, this isn't written down or anything like that, and then he also said, you know what? It's not about how many times you get knocked down. It's about how many times you get back up, and that's what makes a real champion. If I could change, you could change, everybody could change. It was a really great moment. It's unfortunate they didn't capture that on video or anything like that, but I digress, and now we can start to move into the nominees that are out here. And I mean, this one right here kind of caught me off guard, but hey man, okay, because we heard earlier this week, it's like, Trump also established the Department of Government Efficiency, and he's out there starting another branch of the government. Like, this is pretty tremendous, okay? Donald Trump announces Ray Sisman will lead the National Institute of Government Grievances and Equality Relations, wait a minute. No. Oh, God. That's a joke. Of course. But there's a couple of outstanding picks before we get to, the actual ones. And this one right here, I mean, there's some speculation out there. I've heard some names. It's like, okay, is it going to be General Flynn? Because that shit would be hilarious. Is it going to be somebody completely and totally off the board? I would love Sheriff Joe Arpaio, because some of these picks that we're going to be talking about are they're fantastic, man. Like, okay, like it or not, okay, they might end up going down in history as some of the worst ever, okay? This could all end up just going up in flames. But god damn it, man. Even if we don't know right now who the FBI pick is going to be, team that Trump has assembled with Elon Musk, with Vivek, with John Ratcliffe, bro, this is going to be a fun-ass car ride. This is one of those crews where, you see them pull up and it's like, get in, loser, we're about to make America great again. You don't even know necessarily where they're going. You don't know necessarily if you're going to get there unscathed, but they're just such a ragtag, fun-looking group that you just want to hop in. Even if you've got some reservations, you can see the people who are spurging out because of the picks, and you know that even if you aren't necessarily down with it, the people that they're pissing off aren't down with it. So just simply by proxy of that, we could be in for something incredibly fun. So here's some of the senior staffers before we get to the heavy hitters. Okay, Dan Scavino. Okay, again, we talked about this. Trump loves loyalty. Scavino's been with him for as long as I can remember. Will return to the White House as assistant to the president and deputy chief of staff. Fantastic stuff. Stephen Miller. Okay. established America First Legal, did a lot of good stuff in the past 4-year gap. So now he's coming back as assistant to the president, deputy chief of staff for policy and homeland security advisor. That's great. James Blair will serve as assistant to the president and deputy chief of staff for legislation, political, and public affairs. And Taylor Budowich, okay, that name looks familiar, assistant to the president and deputy chief of staff for communications and personnel. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. And yeah, we got to talk about one because they can't all be winners, right? And yeah, okay, you eventually did get the tab on this one. It could be worse, but it could have been a hell of a lot better, bro. Marco Rubio is gonna be the nominee for Secretary of State. Boo. But hey, if he doesn't straighten up and fly right, unlike the Biden administration, which looks relatively unchanged since the beginning, bro will be out of there toot sweet. You remember what it was like, in the past Trump administration. If somebody didn't, do their job appropriately, they would be out on the street moments later, because it's not about who you hire, it's who you don't fire that ultimately defines your success as a CEO, business owner, or in this case, president. But now let's start with the celebration, okay? Because this one happened a couple of days ago, and bro, there were some minds that were broken, and I was completely caught off guard on this one because holy shit. We speculated, and I threw out the idea. It's like, who's going to be named as AG? It's like, no names were really coming to mind. Like, of course, there's always the meme where you could have old goofy-ass Rudy Giuliani or somebody like that, but okay, there's a lot of lawyers that are in Congress, the suspicious amount, okay? But who could actually fill those shoes? Well, unfortunately, they didn't go with somebody who's actually like statuesque in size, but they definitely did when it comes to demeanor, because Matt Gaetz is going to be Matt fucking Gaetz is going to be the attorney general. What? Okay. When it comes to inflammatory congressmen, okay, you couldn't have picked anything better. Okay, a little bit of a spoiler for the other two nominees that we're going to discuss here. It's not Marjorie Taylor Greene, and it's not clout chasing Lauren Boebert. Okay, so when it comes to the America First Congress, those are the best picks that he could have made right there. Matt Gaetz, picking him. Somebody who is, once again, very loyal to Trump, but who got dragged by the DOJ in the previous administration, okay, giving him the keys to the castle this time around. I love it. It is vengeful, it is spiteful, and it's going to be meme-worthy, because I can imagine as AG, one of the first things that Matt Gaetz is going to do is take that January 6th stuff incredibly seriously and get those guys out of jail, because he has been very staunch in his support for all of those wrongly jailed, all of those, because I seem to recall from all of those lefties that are out there spurging about how Trump is going to imprison his political opponents. Yeah, there's quite a few quote-unquote political opponents that are unjustly jailed right now that need to get the fuck out of those cages. So Matt Gaetz, he's definitely going to be doing that, and if he doesn't, that will be a giant betrayal, but I don't necessarily think that is in his character, because we've seen a lot of backbone from him in recent years. So this is a completely off the board pick, but I love it. And again, I love who it pisses off, especially goofy-ass old John Bolton. It's funny how he's appearing on CNN when he was spending years and years at Fox News. But because the Democrats have become the party of George W. Bush and Liz and Dick Cheney, strange turn of events, especially for somebody who has seen all of this stuff happen over the past 20 years. But over there on CNN bemoaning Matt Gaetz and Tulsi Gabbard, the worst cabinet-level appointments in history. The FBI to probe Tulsi Gabbard and Matt Gaetz, they're a serious threat, according to one of the biggest warmongers in history. You love to see them freak out. Oh yeah, and speaking of Tulsi, she's going to be in charge of the DNI. She's going to be the director of national intelligence. Bro, she's going to be the overseer for all of those 3- and 4-letter alphabet agencies. Oh man, wonder if Trump's going to be a war hawk. Yeah, you think that, oh my god, he's not going to drain the swamp. Oh, he's just going to get more entrenched. This is going to be like the second term of Reagan all over again. Everything was all quiet on the Western Front the first time around, but when he came back, when he was a little bit more flumpy, that's when he got Desert Storm. It's like, no. Another instance of loyalty being rewarded and the right person being put in the right position. That's fantastic. This is a fantastic pick, bro. But as happy as I am to see Tulsi Gabbard get a prominent position in Trump's cabinet, I saved the best for last, mostly because this one right here is going to have ripple effects around the world. Because, like it or not, man, okay, this election was as much an American election as it was the world's election. Because wherever America goes, the rest of the world follows. Let's be completely honest, okay? Now that Dad is finally home after a 4-year stint, he finally found that, quart of milk and a pack of cigarettes, and he eventually came back around to clean this shit up. But this time around, yeah, he brought his friends, okay? And RFK Jr., yeah, you got put exactly in the spot that you hope he would. I'm thrilled to announce RFK, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., as the United States Secretary of Health and Human Services. And bro, oh my God, I don't have any of the spurgings, okay? Outside of John Bolton freaking out about Gaetz and Gabbard. The amount of people and the people in the FDA that are threatening to quit over the nomination of RFK, you love to see it, because those are the assholes that were pushing the incredibly unhealthy food pyramid. Those are the type of idiots that were out there that were saying that AIDS was airborne and that for the better part of 2-3 years, we all need to walk around with face diapers. Like, bro, you guys want to leave? Well, don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way out. This is awesome. For too long, Americans have been crushed by the industrial, food complex, and drug companies who have engaged in deception, misinformation, disinformation when it comes to public health. The safe and health of all Americans is the most important role of any administration, and HHS will play a huge role in helping ensure that everyone will be protected from harmful chemicals, pollutants, pesticides, pharmaceutical products, and windmills. They're eyesores. It's a different type of pollution, and it drives the whales insane. To the overwhelming health crisis in this country, Mr. Kennedy will restore the agencies to the traditions of the gold standard scientific research and beacons of transparency to end the chronic disease epidemic and to make America great and healthy again. You love to see it. It shows you right now that Trump is following through on his promises. He brought RFK into the fold on the premise that, okay, Bobby, this is your specialty. You want to focus on that stuff? Okay, we'll get on the Trump train. There's plenty of room. And you get on early, you get a more luxurious cart. Okay, cool. He did, and now he's being duly rewarded. Same with Tulsi Gabbard. Same with Matt Gaetz. Same with Elon, Vivek. You run down the list, and it's great pick after great pick. Yeah, of course, Marco Rubio makes me roll my eyes so hard I give myself a grade 1 concussion. Not great. But to offset that with the amount of fantastic picks and the amount of spurging that we have seen that rivals that of election night meltdowns, I love it. I love it. And yeah, when we hear about that FBI pick, oh, it's going to be sweet. When we hear about more picks going forward, if they're of this quality, oh, you're going to love to see it. And yeah, brother, we aren't even here yet. We're still a couple of months out, but these are early Christmas gifts. And it's like one of those Russian nesting dolls where, yeah, you get the first one up front and then there's just little surprises as we go. It's been fantastic. And bro, we ain't even started yet. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.